Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So I know I typically go over reptile stuff, but today I actually wanted to touch on how tarantulas molt. Unfortunately, I don't personally keep tarantulas, but I do work at an exotic pet shop and we have tarantulas and whatnot. And the Arizona blonde tarantula molted, so I went ahead and grabbed that just to do this video and just explain like the signs of molting and the process of how they molt. I'm not going to go super in depth, but I did want to touch on it, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I wanted to go over would be the signs of pre-molting, and these are pretty much all behaviors that they're going to be displaying before the actual molt. Keep in mind they may start displaying these anywhere from a few weeks to several months before they actually do molt. The first thing you may notice with your tarantula is that they may lose their appetite and not eat as much. It's really not something to be concerned about unless they start losing weight. But assuming they're maintaining their weight and their abdomen still looks full, chances are it's just a sign of pre-molt and they're just fine. The second thing you may notice is minimal activity. Again, it's not a bad thing. Chances are it's just a sign of the pre-molt, but they're not going to be moving around or climbing as much as they might usually do. So again, not something to be concerned about, just chances are it's a sign of pre-molt. Another sign of the pre-molt would be when they start going a little bit bald on their abdomen. It shouldn't be like a dramatic amount of hair loss, but you may notice a bit of a bald spot. Another sign of pre-molt that may cause you to think that they're sick or something would be that their colors can get dull. Even super bright tarantulas are probably going to lose some color, and in some cases they may actually look a bit gray or dark brown when they're typically not. Again, it's not a bad thing, they're not sick, it's just them going into molt. The next thing you may notice is that your tarantula either builds a web to molt in, or in some cases they'll actually make themselves a little mat like on the bottom of their enclosure. Tarantulas actually tend to lay upside down when they molt, so they do like to make like a bit of a soft spot to lay while they molt. So if you find like a new web or just a little like web type mat on the bottom of their enclosure, that's why. So leave it in there, don't mess with it, just let them use it the way that they want to in order to molt. The final thing is actually something that causes a lot of people to think that their tarantula is dead, and unfortunately a lot of completely healthy tarantulas get thrown away because their owners think that they're dead, and that would be that they lay on their back with their legs like tucked in and they get stiff and they don't really move if you touch them. So it makes complete sense why people would think they're dead, because this process can also take like 15 hours. So if you find your tarantula like this, leave them alone. If they don't move after a couple days, then unfortunately they may actually be dead. But for the first like day, just leave them alone. Chances are they're just molting and they're not actually dead, so don't throw them away. They're probably fine. But just keep that in mind, that if you do find your tarantula laying upside down, kind of tucked in and stiff in their enclosure, they're probably just molting. Now, while your tarantula is laying like this, their hormones actually create a fluid which goes into the thorax, helping them break their exoskeleton so that they can push it off of them. Now, as I mentioned, your tarantula is going to be laying upside down during this process, and again, that fluid is going to build up in their thorax, helping them break out of their exoskeleton and push that molt off of them. Now, when you do find the molt after it's been pushed off the tarantula, it's actually going to resemble the tarantula itself, still all in one piece, except for the top of the abdomen is going to be separated where they had to like break it in order to push it off. But it's pretty much just going to look like an upside down spider. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually capture any footage of the Arizona blonde tarantula molting. However, I was able to get a picture of her right after she kicked off the molt. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and you'll notice she's still laying upside down, still looking dead. And the spider itself is actually the darker looking one. She hasn't turned blonde again quite yet in the photo. She looks black. And then the molt is going to be still blonde like she was before she molted. Now, after your tarantula has molted, you're not going to want to feed them for a couple days because their fangs haven't hardened again yet. You'll notice in that photo, if you go back and look at it, that her fangs were still like white and translucent. They're not hard like they would be, so she's not quite ready to eat yet, and you just pretty much want to leave them alone completely for a couple days. molting is fairly hard on their bodies and just kind of stressful. So leave them alone for a couple days before you offer them food or handling or do anything else with them. So now that I've covered the process of molting, I want to go ahead and show you the molt itself, because like I said, I did grab that and bring it home. So I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like after they molt and kind of explain how, again, they break out of their molt. Alright, so here is the Arizona blonde tarantula molt. As I mentioned, you can see where they kind of break their abdomen in order to kick the molt off of them. And then here's what would just be the top of her abdomen. It's still attached, it's just kind of off to the side where she broke it. So normally, that would lay over right there, and that would just be like her back and whatnot. And then when you flip it over, you can actually see they shed their fangs as well. So those are still there. And like I mentioned, their new fangs after they molt are going to be kind of translucent, like you probably noticed in that photo. But either way, this is what a tarantula molt looks like, and it's actually still like all soft and fuzzy like they are. So just kind of interesting, so I figured I would go ahead and show that to you. And that wraps up today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Also hop on over to Reptile Rave on Instagram and give me a follow there. Like I said, I do typically post reptile content, but I do have photos of like arachnids and scorpions and amphibians and whatnot as well. Again, mostly reptiles, but I do have photos of other things up there as well. So make sure you check that out. Check out the rest of my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.